Good afternoon. It being a little after 1:30 in the afternoon, I'm calling this meeting of the Westborough Select Board to order. We have an agenda posted that was properly posted with one primary agenda item, which is a presentation and public forum regarding the proposed community center. This meeting is being recorded by Westborough TV for future broadcast availability on the Westborough TV website and YouTube channels. I apologize. I don't have the script in front of me. Anyone willing and able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristi Williams. I'm the town manager, and I'm just going to make we're going to make a presentation similar to probably some of the other presentations that you've already seen, and then after that we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions, and we can provide some answers. As you know, we're here to talk about Articles 3 and 4 that are on the town meeting warrant. So town meeting is October 16th at 7 o'clock at the high school auditorium. And Articles 3 and 4 are a discussion of the purchase of this building. So this building is it's 1500, building number 1500, and it's located at 12 Union Street, which is the Bay State Commons. So people know it as the building where Boston Sports Club is located. Currently, it's also where Spirit Halloween is located. To start the presentation, we're going to talk about sort of the history of the community's interest in a community center. Going back to 2012, when the town was really looking into renovating some of our municipal buildings, including the Forbes Municipal Building, there was discussion about the fact that we had a gym space in that Forbes Municipal Building because it was a former school, and we were able to use that gym space through the recreation department. And so there was a concern at the time that if we renovated the building and expanded the police department, that we would lose that space. And so that was the plan for the Forbes building. And so there was also this plan to create what we called at the time a recreation center, which you can see is really just a gymnasium, some offices, and a classroom. In 2016, town meeting did vote to move forward with the Forbes project, but this piece of that was not included. In 2016, also, when we were acquiring the Westborough State Hospital property, our recreation director at the time worked with the commission to commission this conceptual design or layout of how we might envision the property that was going to be ours at the Westborough State Hospital. And so you can see that there's several fields. Some of them have already been developed actually since that time. And included in this conceptual design was the community center. There's nothing in this design that articulates exactly what was going to be inside of that community center or which departments would be there. All we know is that it was envisioning a 26,000 square foot community center. In 2018, we had our strategic plan. One of the priorities that came out of the strategic plan was to design and build an intergenerational community center with activities for all ages. In 2021, we adopted the town's most recent master plan. And so there was discussion about a community center that within the master plan, specifically under this open space and recreation goal number 3. So included in that goal is to provide both indoor and outdoor recreation space, including a community center, investigating the feasibility of constructing and operating a multi-generational center, and expanding indoor and outdoor recreational facilities, and even investigating the provision of a municipal pool or splash pad. Also under the public facilities goal for the master plan, Goal number 3 also was to align the town's facilities with the community's diverse needs and long-term vision. So action items under that goal included exploring the potential for a community recreation center and also evaluating the need to expand this building, so the town's senior center. Also, there's an economic development goal that speaks to the location of this building that we're proposing for a community center. And that was to improve Westborough's major shopping centers, specifically calling out Bay State Commons and increasing walkability and accessibility. So action items under that goal are promoting mixed-use development in and around Bay State Common, potential for incorporating more entertainment-driven uses for youth and the larger community within Bay State Common, and make Bay State Common more visible, accessible, and welcoming, and then incorporate teen-friendly amenities in the Bay State Common. This past year, we completed our senior needs assessment. So this was another public engagement process where we created a document to really tell the town staff and the leaders of the town what the community was looking for. So this, for the senior needs assessment, we did send a survey out to every household with occupants over 55 and older. And then it was also available, the survey was also available online to anyone who was interested in taking it. And that was completed in May of 2023. So there were several different, so there was a survey, there was key informant surveys, and then there were public forums. So out of the key informant surveys, they identified some disadvantages related to the physical location of this senior center. One of them being the traffic pattern, finding it challenging and potentially dangerous pulling out of this property, and then also the desire for space to have more active and physical offerings for seniors. Through the focus groups, they identified several factors that deter participation at the senior center. So one of them is a perceived condition of the building, the fact that the senior center is found to be largely inaccessible. There was a strong concern expressed for driver safety again, and then also the physical environment. Another key finding of focus groups was that older residents noted a sense of feeling undervalued in the community. So that's something that we've paid a lot of attention to. Overall, focus group participants emphasize that many residents strongly recognize what they feel is a reluctance on the part of the town to allocate resources and to offer supports. And then a key finding of the full report, based on all of those data sources, was that the physical space of the senior center does not meet current needs and interests of our community. So recommendations were to update the physical space of the senior center, further explore potential for a community center, engage the community for input, which we'll talk a little bit more about, and then continue to strengthen collaboration between town departments. So in looking at all of those guiding documents and the goals that the community has created through these engagement processes, the select board has negotiated the purchase of this building, which we feel speaks to a lot of the goals that I just mentioned. So the price for the building is $8.8 million. It's a 64,000 square foot building, so it's about $139 per square foot. For the estimate for new construction, so building it, up at the state hospital as an example, is at this point $800 per square foot. We actually saw that play out in the town of Upton, which has recently opened a senior center library. So it's a community center with senior center and library in it. That building is about 15,000 square feet and was about $12 million. And so the estimated tax impact based on a 5% interest rate, that's a conservative rate. We don't know what we'll get until we go out to borrow, but that's being conservative. And the average of that over the life of the borrow is about $84 a year, with the highest being $113 in the first year, or fiscal 25. So we're talking a lot about the building, but there's also some property that comes with the purchase. And so that red line really shows that there's some parking spaces within the purchase. It's about 2.58 acres. And let's see. In order to give you an idea of what the building looks like inside, Westborough TV generously helped us put together a virtual tour. So it's about a 3-minute video that I'm going to play for you. So it's a little bit challenging to see how sort of wide open that first floor is because Spirit Halloween is in there. So maybe you saw a costume you're interested in. But we do have a couple of photos of the wide open space. So this lower level, it's 31,000 square feet. It's completely open. When you walk in there, it looks like there's walls, but those are big walls, for the store. And so this is really where we would envision moving the senior center is into this lower level. This gives you a little bit better idea of what that space looks like when nobody's occupying it. So really just completely wide open, available for conceptualizing, the rooms and things that we would want in that space. This is the second floor. So this is the Boston Sports Club piece. So you can see this is 32,500 square feet. One of the things that we wanted to really highlight in the video, and hopefully you can see here looking at the layout, is that there really is partition spaces already. It's not as wide open, so really available immediately for use. In this lower corner here with the 3 circles, that's that sort of multi-purpose room with the wooden floor that you saw. Right next to it in the corner, that's the cycling studio that you saw, but that's its own space as well. And then the gym gets closed off from the rest of the space. The pool is closed off from the rest of the space. And then you saw a meeting room in the video. So that's really a separate room that's kind of right off the entrance. Then there's also another sort of party room and then offices. So already sort of set up with these rooms. One of the things we want to make the point of, you saw a lot of gym equipment in that video. That's not part of the sale. So our negotiation is solely with the building owner and not with Boston Sports Club. And so that exercise equipment will not remain. However, during the community engagement process, if we find that folks are interested in having that, that's part of that discussion. So I just mentioned that that's our proposed plan. This shows the senior center that we're in right now. So this building is 8,655 square feet to give some perspective of how much larger the space would be. Our recreation director and our senior center director looked at what other towns do and also thought about some of the things that they know that this community's been asking for. And so they put together these slides with some ideas of how they might use the space. So additional programming, certainly in the senior center, because we have sort of just the 2 rooms that we're able to program, we would have the ability to run more programs in parallel because we anticipate having multiple rooms that would be available for those programs. Other possible programming opportunities, so we have open gyms, senior meetups, that community program space on the other side is really just some additional things that we might do that it doesn't necessarily live within a certain department. Elections, it would be great if we could hold elections there. We could keep all of our election equipment in that storage space that you saw, and then we could hold elections. We wouldn't impact the schools for that. Veterans events, different speakers, youth and family services often has speakers come in. Library programs. This was brought up on Tuesday and I forgot to add it to the slide, but definitely meeting rooms because we do know that we have a need for meeting space in the community. And then the pool. So the pool is certainly a new amenity for us. And so our recreation director has done a lot of work to understand what it would take to use the pool and staff the pool. And one of the things that she's learned is that you can contract with certain agencies that will really manage the pool for you. And so they will hold water aerobics classes, they'll hold birthday parties, and they're able to get lifeguards, which is something that you know that we've struggled with over the last couple summers related to Lake Chauncey. This is just looking at what some other communities do in terms of expanded hours. So this again is not set in stone, but just to give an idea that we're going to be open more than just town hall hours. So just more availability to programs. And so then we talked about the costs associated with the purchase. So there's the property purchase, which is Article 3. There's the public engagement, design, and due diligence, Article 4. And then we'll talk about carrying costs. So Article 3 is a property purchase. It's that $8.8 million that I mentioned. The impact in the first year would be the $113.52 to the average single family. Article 3 is it's asking for you to authorize the board to borrow that much money. It's also asking you to authorize the board to acquire the property. So it doesn't require the board to purchase the property. It authorizes them to, and that's a really important distinction because we won't have all of our due diligence complete by town meeting, and so as the inspections and other due diligence reports come back to the board, if there's something that's concerning, they still have the option to not move forward. So Article 4, it's a free cash article for the fall town meeting. That it's $85,000. The whole amount is about $200,000. $85,000 is for the public engagement process. So if any of you were part of the charrette that we did related to the state hospital property, that's kind of what we're envisioning, where we'll have someone come in and facilitate conversation about what the community is looking for in that space. Mostly the first floor, but also even the upper floor. And then that $85,000 would get us to schematic design, where we'd be able to identify costs for fit up based on that conceptual plan. Estimated maintenance and utilities, that's for the rest of fiscal 24 because we didn't include that in the budget. And so that's about $75,000 for electricity, and then any maintenance items. Estimated due diligence, that's those inspections that I mentioned. So we already have folks going into buildings, looking at all the mechanical systems, looking at the pool, assessing the structure, and then also doing an environmental assessment. So we're working through that, and so this would be funding for that. So it says no tax impact because it's a free cash article. Some of these, though, however, would carry into fiscal 25 and they would become budget items. So that's what this slide is. So this slide shows the increase in fiscal 25 related to carrying the building. So the maintenance and the utilities are estimated based on the Forbes Municipal Building. That building's 56,000 square feet. So it's about 15% smaller than the building we're talking about. So we took the numbers that we budgeted for that building and we increased them by 15%. So it's an estimate based on that. And then also we have another maintenance piece is the common area maintenance agreement. That's an agreement between all of the properties within Bay State Common. And so that would cover our plowing, our landscaping, the lighting, so anything sort of outside of the inside of the building would be covered under this common area maintenance. It also, part of that is a reciprocal easement agreement, meaning that our parking is available to the rest of the tenants and their parking is available to us. So that would be, and then the final piece of that would be some additional personnel costs. So we're estimating the need for a community center manager, an additional custodian, and then increasing the hours of the program and volunteer coordinator in the senior center from 25 to 40 hours. It's a really big building, so that doesn't sound like a lot of employees. But I want to make the point that what we're talking about here is employees who would be paid through the operating budget. So we'll talk about other employees on the next slide. And so with the estimated increase in the operating budget plus that $113 to the average single family for the building purchase, we would estimate the impact to the average single family in fiscal 25 being that $180.84. The cost for programming, so you all know that the recreation department runs lots of programs. They run them through, they receive the money for the programs into their revolving account, and then they pay for the programs out of their revolving account. And that's where we would envision paying for a lot of the part-time employees, which is exactly how we run the beach right now, where we hire employees, we pay out of the revolving account. That's how we run the playground programs. That's how we would anticipate hiring part-time attendants to help out at the community center. The senior center's model is a little bit different. They don't have a revolving account. They do have some budgeted expenses for some of their programming, but a lot of the things that they do here, we pay direct to the vendor, we do through grants, so understanding that the financial models of both departments would stay the same. This is just getting into a little bit more detail about the need for those attendants. So that green line there is that new position in the recreation department. That would be on the operating budget. And then when you look lower, we would have 4 to 5 community center attendants that we paid for the recreation account. And then the aquatic staff or the contract that I was mentioning, and other vendors and speakers. And then a future town meeting article. So after we complete the public engagement process and we have that conceptual schematic design, we would be prepared to move forward with asking town meeting for the funding for construction and fit up. We've identified that there are several sources of funds that we could potentially use for this. Sale of real estate is one of them. Every time we sell property, money goes into that sale of real estate account. That's required, that's how it has to happen, and it can only be used for projects for which we would borrow. So this would be one of them. The Pulte payments are actually, it's even more restrictive. That can only be used for affordable housing or to support seniors. And so some of that money would be available to us because we're talking about creating the senior center. We have put a lot of, we receive payments from Pulte every time they finish a building up at the Old State Hospital property. And a lot of that money to date has gone into the Affordable Housing Trust, but this is the balance currently. And then the Community Preservation Act, which went into effect this year, some of that money might be available to us. That has to go through its whole own process with the Community Preservation Committee. But it's difficult to put a number on what that fit up would cost. However, it's really dependent on how we would use the building and what we would need. If we're just putting up walls and we know that we need to add a commercial kitchen, we think that we could cover that within some our available funds. If we start talking about much larger structural changes, that would certainly necessitate a conversation for potentially a different funding source. And this is a proposed timeline. So the select board will consider the purchase and sale agreement on Tuesday. It's very common. One of the contingencies in the purchase and sale agreement is that town meeting has to approve it. So it doesn't obligate the town to do anything. We still move through our process at town meeting the same way we normally would. And if town meeting defeats the article, the purchase and sale goes away. On the 16th, we have our votes for town meeting. And then we would move through the process to close on the property and then start our community engagement, which was with a potential funding request for that fit up a year from now or at the fall town meeting in '24. So this is my last slide. This is really just to talk about the format of this public information session. If you have great ideas about what we think we want to see in that building, I hope you participate in a future community engagement forum. Right now, we're not really recording, that input in order to create the conceptual design. We'll have a consultant come in and help us with that. So really today is for asking questions. Select board members are here to help answer, as am I and some other staff members. So thank you. If you have questions, Rita will bring you the microphone.
Could we have a little more lights, maybe? Could we have a few more lights, maybe?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Robin Skinner, and I've been a resident of Westborough for 17 years. And I really have a problem with this. And the issue for me is a lot of people are struggling so hard with life as it is right now in our economy and everything doubling. I just don't see this as a smart thing to do currently. This looks like a lot of fluff. We have a Y in town. But overall, I think the numbers are going to be higher for our taxes no matter what happens, because typically they are. I think you should put this aside for a while and let us recover and live and not feel forced to move out of Westborough, which I already feel that right now. And as far as you're talking about, being able to get in and out, that rotary is a killer to get around. There are so many accidents. So I feel for seniors. I know I've clunked a car in there. And, put a light out. Put a light for the seniors to get out. And then the other thing is, I just don't think a lot of these things are necessary. And, you can't even get lifeguards for Lake Chauncey. So, I don't know, it just frustrates me, but thank you very much.
Excuse me, we should have mentioned when you go to speak, if you can give your name and your address. So, Ms. Skinner, so you can capture.
Excuse me, I live at 24 Mill Road. I already did you. Sorry, Robin Skinner.
Yeah.
Skip Richards, 6 years Sawyer Lane. I have several issues, but 2 quick questions first. Does the town vote require half or 2/3 to approve?
2/3.
Okay. And the other one is, I'm just curious, is the Boston Sports Club contemplating closing that location, or were they just essentially, I didn't get to the gym yesterday, and that makes like 14 years in a row. But I'm just curious, a lot of people use it. I'm curious if they're just going to be kicked out, essentially, they're at least not renewed, or were they contemplating leaving?
Our understanding is that Boston Sports Club was not planning to renew their lease when it expires. February. We think it's February of next year.
Okay, so I agree with the access issue, and everything looks great on here in terms of space and programs. But I do have one comment about the location of the senior center here. It just seems like a nice place with grounds and opportunity for outdoor activities, gardening, outdoor discussions. And I don't know if any of that happens here. I honestly haven't participated. But it seems like that other location is it's concrete and brick building, and it just seems like a less home-like atmosphere for a senior center. Has that been addressed? Has that been talked about?
So the potential for outdoor activities, there's been a little bit of a discussion about it. Someone sent an email requesting a skateboard park.
For seniors.
Well, for anyone, it's how good is your Medicare thing, right? As far as activities like gardening, that's something we can look into and address as far as how we use the external space of the property, or even having elevated gardens as well as other locations in the community for that. So that's something that would be a good thing to bring forward during the community engagement as we look and plan what we want next for community center, which is inclusive of the senior center, the rec department, and other public uses.
Ted Gilbert, 26 Charles Street, Westborough. This project is another example of the town leadership using our tax dollars and our low borrowing costs to play monopoly in Westborough. I don't see any benefits accruing to the taxpayers from these efforts or expenditures. Are our kids really learning anything worth the unnecessary millions spent on the failed screen, climate change, Taj Mahal Elementary School? The town leadership, the individuals themselves, are benefiting from these efforts using our public funds. They get the benefits of influence. They get the accolades, not us. As far as I can see, there's extremely low foot traffic at the library, at the senior center, at the Bay State Commons, at the new cricket pitch. Boston Sports Clubs was a ghost town most of the time. Even our public buildings are empty most of the time. Churches and social clubs like Masonic Halls and Elks Lodges are closing all the time throughout this country because of a lack of demand. As far as I can see, there's extremely low demand for commercial real estate space in Westborough. Businesses and investors are pulling out, including the Grossmans. The only real demand, that is manufactured demand as a result of horrific public policies of the Biden administration, is the demand for housing for illegals. I think the best use of 1500 Union is for illegal housing. Let's get real here and agree that that's the ultimate reason you want to buy the property.
I just want to be clear that the town, when we purchase any property, and I've actually told Mr. Gilbert this, we acquire it for a purpose. And so we can't tell you that we're buying it for one purpose and then use it for a different purpose. So this, you can see it right in the article. It says that we would acquire it for general municipal purposes, a community center.
Additionally, while the town administration and the select board is bringing this forward as an opportunity, we are not making the purchase without authorization of town meeting. So it is the residents and voters of Westborough who will ultimately decide whether having a multi-generational community center with expanded facilities, an expanded capacity for senior activities and other community activities, additional recreation programs, is something the town wants and is worth the investment and the ongoing operating cost.
The other piece I would add, I'm not sure about the reference to Grossman Development pulling out of their investment. In fact, I would say that they are actually heavily investing. They continue to own and operate the Basic Commons Plaza, and should the town move forward with purchasing the 1500 Union Street building, they will continue to operate where Roach Brothers is and Panera, et cetera, et cetera. And if anyone has been down there recently, you've noticed the significant investment that they've been making to improve those facilities, which, in my humble opinion, were neglected for many years by the prior owners. So I also would look to Grossman Developments, and I'm not here to defend them, and I'm certainly not on their payroll. So I just also want to point to the work that they did over at the Spags Plaza. For folks that certainly remember that, probably many of you for many years, they took that over, completely renovated it, and are operating that and continue to bring in businesses there. So I just want to be clear that this is not an effort by them to sell something to the town and then bolts. They are very much continuing to be anchored. And I do think, while certainly we're all, it's important that we all express our opinion, I think it's important just to kind of correct the record and say that no one here, certainly on this board or town staff, are benefiting from the potential purchase here. If the town decides that it wants to go forward with this amenity, and that there's benefit, then obviously we need staff to run it. And if that's a benefit of employment, okay, but no one is, the comment was made that it sounded underhanded, that someone was benefiting from this purchase, and I want to be very clear that that's not the case.
Can I just make one vote?
Hi, I'm Jen Kirkland. I'm the Recreation Director here in town. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things just about our programming. You mentioned the new cricket pitch. It opens this weekend, so if you have driven by the State Hospital and you haven't seen anyone up there, that is why. But you will see now weekends through October are booked, and if you ever drive by our cricket pitch that's been around for 6-7 years now, it is always busy. If you drive by the pickleball courts that are on Lyman Street, they are always packed. We just did a little bit of research this week. In last fiscal year, we served over 1,900 unique registrations in just our recreation department. That means not the same person signing up for the same programs, 1,900 unique registrations. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. Thank you.
I have a question. Betty Kristen, 16 Piccadilly Way. And my question is specific for the very first floor
of this building, and the 31,000 square feet. And I think the assumption for most seniors is that the entire first floor is going to be a dedicated space for the seniors. Is that accurate? And then I have a follow-up question.
So the use of the building, including the first floor, will come out as a result of the community engagement process. Our thought process, and based on the results from the senior assessment survey and the results as it was analyzed, is that the senior community of Westborough is comfortable having a multi-generational community center so long as there is some space dedicated to seniors. So I'll speak for myself personally. My personal hope and expectation is that there's space dedicated to senior and senior programming, but then there's also space that will be dedicated to senior programs when those programs are happening. So for example, the swimming pool will be booked for senior programs. It's dedicated to seniors at that time. It doesn't mean other groups and community members can't have programs in the swimming pool at different times. Meeting room facilities can be shared, things of that nature. When we talk about the need, here we are in the senior center. Like, we're having this meeting, which really means the pool tables can't be used right now. If someone is having a meeting in the meeting room, they can't get there without walking through this event, right? So, we have an opportunity here to expand the use and the availability of these amenities and these services to the community.
I just wanted to add that the space in the lower level will be dedicated to seniors when it's being used, but that's similar to how this building currently operates. So this building is fully available to the public outside of senior center hours. If we go through the community engagement process and the community as a whole decides, and I don't know, but decides they want an auditorium, the senior center might not use that auditorium every day, right? So it is going to be fully available for senior programming during the day. That being said, the senior center might not be using every space in the lower level. So that's where that shared piece comes in. Just like recreation will program the upper level for recreation purposes, but it will also be available if they're not using all of those spaces.
So are you saying that the dedication space, the space dedicated for senior citizens, is not exclusive for senior citizens? I'm getting that.
It is during senior center hours.
Yeah. Okay.
So as an example though, seniors would have programming that would be using the second floor space, I don't know, the exercise space, yoga, dancing, pool time, whatever it is, that is in the recreation space, but that time is dedicated for seniors. So there's an interchangeability here that I think is important to understand. It's not like someone will, I could come in here, I'm not a senior yet, I could come in here and sit and have a cup of coffee. This is not excluded to me because I'm not a senior during senior hours. And I don't think that by and large, that's not the intention here. I think what the worry is, wait a second, we're gonna have an intergenerational center. And I don't mean to put thoughts in anyone's mind here, but I've heard it of, wait a second, this space is gonna be overrun with kids. That is not how this is gonna happen. The space will be dedicated downstairs, but it's 31,000 square feet. We don't know how we're going to use that 31,000 square feet, and even if it's necessary for even full-blown mega programming for seniors, right? So you could have a conference room that's 100 square feet, I'm making it up, right, in the senior center space. And to Kristi's point, during the day, it's not being used at all, or it's being used partially by, I don't know, a community group that's going to meet, or the Veterans Advisory Board has their meeting, or what have you. So it is difficult to give you this is how the space will be used, because the community will decide that. But the intention here, and by the fit up dollars that Kristi showed, have to be dedicated to senior use. So this is not going to be a recreational facility, for people under, pick a number, 55.
Okay, so what you are saying is that a dedicated space is the same thing as a community space. You're saying that it's only dedicated to a group at the time that that particular group is using that space.
Sorry, no, I mean, just like here, right, during the day, this space is generally open for seniors, right? So the programming that's allowed, but it's effectively 1, 2.5 if you consider the library areas, right? We're talking about 31,000 square feet. So if we were to take this and even double or, almost triple this use and have full programming during senior center time, it would be dedicated to seniors, excuse me. There may be elements though in that building where, as the director and the council on aging and others lay out senior programming, where there are pockets of time and room that is not being used, where a group says, and I can't think, where a board says, we need to have a meeting. Oh, there's a meeting space available, it's not being used. So that is potentially a non-senior use, if you will, that could be used. Does that make sense? Kristi, you, Alan, you agree? I just want to make, okay.
All right, so it will be all of these spaces put around, and then whichever department claims it for their particular group, they get to use that at that time.
No, the senior center and the programming resulting from that has priority in that first floor space. But I think it's important to say we don't know how we're going to use the 31,000 square feet. So, within the 31,000 square feet, I'm just throwing out a hypothetical. Let's say that 2/3 of it are determined. This is going to be dedicated senior space that we need. We need a pool room, we need a game room, we need a conference space, we need a library, we need a computer center. In that, call it 20,000 square feet, will be dedicated for senior programming. I'm making up 9 to 5, whatever the hours are here, right? There could be another 10,000 square feet in that first floor space that are community at large availability. We don't know that answer yet. But the space that is dedicated for seniors will be dedicated for seniors during what I'll call normal senior time. I'm seeing nods around the room, so I think I'm making some sense. Not that you agree with me, but that I'm making some sense.
All right, thank you.
Kristen, 16 Piccadilly Well. First, I want to thank Kristi Williams for the excellent slide presentation. And by the way, everyone, this information that you saw on the slide presentation, as well as a lot of other information on this proposed community center, is available on the town's website. And also on there, and I recommend that all the people here in attendance today go to the website and look at this slide presentation again and all the other information that's there, including one that includes frequently asked questions, which has a lot of information, which has raised some questions for me. One is that on the town meeting on October 16th, you're asking the citizens here of our town to vote on the purchase of this facility there at 1500 Union at a cost of $8.8 million. And you need a 2/3 vote to do that. Later on, there's going to be a due diligence on that, which makes sense. You need to do that anytime you enter a purchase and sale agreement. And then later on, we're going to ask the community input as to how they want to use this facility. And one of the things that I saw when I was looking at the frequently asked questions was the town anticipates investing a significant amount of money in order to fit the building for use as a community center. And if we don't know the wishes of the town for this use and what it will cost for this fit up, we're asking the town here to vote on October 16th to go ahead with this purchase and sale agreement. But we don't have, at least I didn't see anything, that would tell us what the estimated fit up cost will be. Now clearly, the board members must have some idea as to what the fit up cost would be at a minimum. Obviously, you don't have the input from the community yet, but I'd like to know what is the estimate before any major input comes from the community when they do this wish list or assessment there as to what they would like this community assessment to be. That's my first question.
So the answer is we don't have any estimated initial fit-out costs. would it have been ideal to have community, say, we have an opportunity, let's have community engagement, let's get some ideas about how we want to use the space both floors, and then run some estimates based on, municipal building costs. That was not our luxury in this process. So the answer is we don't have any, and Kristi, unless Alan or Ian, we don't have any estimate of what this is going to take. I think Kristi's point about the second floor and the video you saw is that it's largely ready to use, meaning you could have a pickleball game in the basketball court, you could, do some exercising in one of the rooms, what have you. But we don't have that answer is the short answer. Do I wish we did? Yes.
However, we can't be forced by the owner of the building now to sign this purchase and sale agreement
Yes.
in order to go forward.
Yes.
If we determine later on that the fit-up costs are going to be very, very expensive, this is after we've done the due diligence. Is there a way we can get out of this, or at that point we're locked in?
No, we would be, if we make a vote on, at town meeting, it authorizes the board to execute to acquire the property. We have to go through that due diligence. If there were to be a red flag at that time for the board, then we would be able to back out as part of that due diligence, the clause in the purchase and sale.
Right.
But once we sign that purchase and sale, and I think it's important to say that community engagement process will not take place by the time we have to execute the purchase and sale. So that will take place after, and so to your point, those are unknown costs. I think the other thing that I would just say is that I think it's important to think about if we want to move forward with this community center, and if we see value in doing that, I think we do have to look at the relative cost of building any new space, right? So, not to say if we were to build a building that we would say we're going to build a 60,000 square foot building, but I think the experience that we just witnessed in Upton, around 800 square feet, $800 per square foot. Even if we were to double the size of this, which is about 8,000, 9,000, you can quickly do the math on what that would cost just to build a building, not even to just fit it up. And we saw that on in other municipal costs. So. Is it going to cost something beyond the purchase? Yes. Do we know and I know you know that, do we know what that number is? No. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, it might be 2 million, it might be 6 million. I have no idea what that number is, and so I wish I had an answer, but I don't. Alan?
The other thing to keep in consideration as we look at the fit-up costs is community engagement is going to come back with a set of ideas, set of priorities. You then go get the cost of doing that, right? At which point, that spending goes before town meeting. And the discussion can be, well, we like everything that's planned, but we don't want to spend all that money now. We'll do parts of it now, or we'll do it in stages. We also have, aside from having non-tax sources of funds to do the fit up, we have not explored, and there are community development grants from the state for senior services, for other community services that we will investigate and cap as well to leverage, additional sources of funds as we go through.
And I know there was a slide that we saw earlier from Kristi that said possible funding for the fit up and all that. Property that we have sold that we have available funds for. And one of the things that comes to mind is if we decide to go forward with this, and it's going to be, the senior center will be in that building, there'll be no need for this particular senior center. At which point, then a decision will be made, what are we going to do with that? We could obviously sell the senior center, get some money for that, maybe help defray some of the costs for the fit up. But what I also saw in there was that it could also be used for the Westborough affordable housing program. And I guess my question on that, I'm not familiar with that program and what kind of resources they had, but if they did that, would they have to borrow money to purchase the property and to then build affordable housing on that, which would then require article and a warrant? So I'm just curious on what would happen there. If that was one of the things that would happen with this building and we were to then use it for affordable housing.
So, the Westborough Affordable Housing Trust, for those not familiar with what it is a municipal housing trust, which is effectively a municipally owned real estate investment trust for the purpose of providing and maintaining affordable housing. The Affordable Housing Trust is interested in the building and the land, should it become available from the town. If the town empties this building and has no identifiable purpose for it, the expectations that the town would look to sell. The trust would be an interested party, probably not the only one, and the town would make the best decision in the disposition. The Affordable Housing Trust has sources of funds. It does not get any direct taxpayer funding. There will be contributions potentially in the future from the Community Preservation Act. So the Housing Trust could have the cash to make that acquisition. The trust can borrow money against its own assets. It doesn't become part of the budget. It's not part of the debt service for the town. It's specific to the trust as a separate entity. And you know, the trust has other means of raising funds to acquire property for affordable housing.
If I could just add one other thing too is, we've talked about it in the select board meeting, and I think Kristi brought up when we talked this slide. It really is the intention of the board and the staff to make this fit up not cost the taxpayers money on the tax rate. Now we'll have the public information session, and there's going to be a wish list, and that wish list could be very expensive. Oh, we want 4 new elevators to go into the building. We want additional floors on the building. I mean, some things like that. We have to figure that out. But our intent is to really work with this, that we can upfit this building without going to all of us as taxpayers and asking for taxpayer dollars to do that fit up. That is our goal, and that's what we're trying to do. I think the other thing to point out, there are some things we know, and Shelby was spot on, that we don't know a full cost, but if you think, basically some of the things here that, commercial kitchen, absolute requirement. We have it here, but we also know that there's some newer equipment here. We'll probably take that equipment and bring it with us as opposed to outfitting a whole new commercial kitchen. So we have pieces there. Bathroom facilities, definitely. There's limited bathroom facilities. We'll know we will need more bathroom facilities there, ensure that they're handicap accessible, et cetera. But besides those basics, then it's a lot of ideas. I mean, yes, we know we will, create some walls and space, but those could be permanent walls, those could be temporary walls, et cetera. And we can be very, I think, cost effective as we think about that. Again, that will all come, but I think from our board and the town staff, it really is our vision here that we can do this, and we want to do this without costing the taxpayers any money on that upfit.
Andy Kenningsburg, 3 Smith Street. I have some questions about the process here for getting the building. All the negotiations were done in executive session. My first question is, okay, you got a building that is essentially, the first floor is already empty. The second floor is going to be the tenant's going to vacate. Apparently, from what you've all said, there's a push for the town to buy it by the current owners. If there's a push for, sounds like a sell it or lose it, are there other entities that want that building? And if there aren't, is the price that the town is paying, is that how do we know that that's the best possible price that we could be paying for this building, assuming no one else wants it? Why are the Grossmans in such a rush to sell it? And if they're in such a rush to sell it, then, it seems to me that there's negotiating room here that we haven't taken advantage of. I mean, I don't know if you have, because everything was done in executive session. Thank you.
So a couple of comments there. The property owner isn't rushing to sell it. They're not pushing to sell it. Upon buying the plaza, they were aware that there had been some interest in the past from the town to see what might happen with that building. They've given us the opportunity to purchase it. We are aware that they have companies interested in becoming tenants in that building. So part of the timeline from his standpoint is the town reaching a decision quickly enough that if we're not going to buy it, those tenants remain interested, and he's able to fill the building with businesses. If he wants to speak to it more, as he was part of, and Shelby is part of the negotiating team. Negotiation for property and the value of property is done in executive session under Mass General Law. For obvious reasons, that public discussion about how much you're willing and what your offers are, the terms and conditions, weakens your negotiating position when doing it. The results of those sessions over several sessions over several months is that we earnestly believe that there is no lower price at which we could acquire the building from the developer, and that we've reached it. The purchase and sale, as you'll see when we walk through it Tuesday evening, has your normal inspection and your building assessment contingencies in it. There are also other requirements as far as the reciprocal agreement, maintenance agreement, the fact that that center is a contaminated site, and that part of the purchase and sale is the town is indemnified in perpetuity from any liability related to that, even though we're a property owner. So very complex negotiations done in a fairly quick period of time. So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, just to add on that, I mean, this was a negotiation. It wasn't that the seller demanded a price and we agreed to it. As Alan said, that's what took time. They didn't get what they asked for. We didn't get what we proposed. But that's what a negotiation's all about. We feel that to acquire this property, that we got to the point where we could both agree on that with a lot of other things that were part of the negotiation, as Alan alluded to, just one of them, but there were other pieces. But that was a major one for us that would have, quite honestly, been a deal breaker for us in terms of taking the risk on the town without getting indemnification. But again, that's what happens here on my time on the board, and recalling some of the other purchases we did for land. Most recently, same things. We bought the Daypray property. We paid over appraised value for it, but it was a value to the town that we felt the sellers didn't get what they wanted. We didn't get the lower price that we wanted, but we came to a negotiated price that we both could agree on. That's where we are here. That's what we're bringing forward. That's our role as a board, to negotiate. In our meeting on Tuesday night, there was a proposal that someone would make a motion on town meeting floor to lower and say that we should go back and renegotiate and not pay more than $4 million. My response that night was, if that's the view, and $8.8 million you feel is too much, then you should vote to not support the article, so to defeat the article. It's not town meeting's role to negotiate the price. That's why it's not done in public. That's our role. $8.8 million is what we've agreed to with the seller. If that's not what you feel is a fair price for the property, then I encourage you to go to town meeting and vote to defeat the article.
Hi, I'm Beverly Bailey. I live at 41 Lawson Court in Westborough. And I feel like the town of Westborough has forgotten its seniors. So I think this is great to offer something for the seniors. I pay taxes here and stuff, but because the programs here are so limited and there's not enough space, I have joined other senior centers in other towns. So I end up driving out of here to go to different activities because it's just not available in my own town.
Hi, I'm Anna Kung, 14 Portland Drive. I strongly support this article because I think it's sort of a missing piece of the puzzle in Westborough, because we have these two agencies, the Recreation Department and the Senior Center, who both want to have us all be as happy and doing well as possible. But if I remember from Ms. Callahan's, she cannot get into the school department, she cannot get into the school department until after 6 o'clock in the evening. And she could very well have something to do for the young people after they're out of school. Since we kept the high school in its current site because we wanted the seniors and the freshmen to be able to walk to places in town, they can also walk down to this new place. We always have thought it would be good to have a place for the teenagers to meet as a person and, enjoy themselves without, people who are in their 90s telling them what to do if they're doing a party at their own home. And I think the mother and me things for little kids would be great. The library doesn't have a large enough meeting room unless they go over into the Forbes Municipal Building. That will mean extra, probably custodians to open up a large building to use the big Memorial Hall. I just see this as a great place for us to get the best benefit for our taxes. I've been here since 1976. In that amount of time, I think the only building that hasn't been renovated is the Forbes Community Building and the Harvey Building over on Phillips Street. And, I think if you look at the town budget, the seniors do not receive a lot of the proportion of the budget. I was wondering if someone can mention that. Also, since we have two Amazon entities in town, it would be probably a discussion for another time. But more money should be coming into the town. And we need a place of common interest, because now we have the group over at Lake Chauncey. We have the people who've lived there all their life and have a small house. We have the people who have very large houses in town. We have the people who come here for a while their children are educated. And with all these different ways that we enjoy Westborough, we need a place to come together. And that's what I think this could be. I think we'll get great value out of it. We also need to do it the New England way. We'll use the same furniture from our living room and not have to buy new furniture because it's recently been reupholstered and the armchairs in there are fantastically comfortable. As our Mr. Edinberg said, we don't need to put everything together. We can, fit out some of the other things later. We just need to get it functional, and we're losing a lot of heating dollars on this building. Alma can tell you that. So let's try to work together to get this done. I will be voting on it in town meeting, and I encourage other people to vote on it because I think it'll just bring everybody together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Ware, and I live at Gilmore Farm Road. It's an over 55 community, and I enjoy it there. And there are an awful lot of citizens up there very interested in going to town meeting and vote and care about what goes on in this town. I've been here since 1964. You don't need to do the numbers, but I've been involved with the Senior Center for over 15 years directly. And again, all the comments I get, Northborough has a wonderful senior center, why can't we have one? Because it costs money. And if you're willing to vote for it, you can probably have it. This is an opportunity to buy property in the center of town. Those kinds of opportunities don't come along too often. Location, location, location. But I think it's good for the kids that you see walking every afternoon and the seniors who want to be able to go someplace before it gets dark and do some of the things that we simply don't have the space for here. So yes, it's going to cost us money. Our taxes go up every year. Property taxes, income taxes, groceries. It's life. It's the way of the world. It's going to cost you to live in an affluent town. that offers the kind of opportunities we have. So I'll be going to town meeting and voting for this purchase.
Doug Wales, 8 Lennox Way, Westborough. Seniors have needed good programming space. The seniors have needed visions of places where we can, as we grow older and retire, that we can continue to develop ourselves, engage in interesting activities. And so far, we have bought a lot of things in Westborough that people have called bright, shiny things. Okay? Our master plan has called for a community center. The whole point of what I'm saying, I'm going to wrap this up quickly, is the following. The seniors have really not been part, we've been alluded to, but not really been part of the plan. This is an opportunity for the seniors to get good building, plenty of space, reconfigurable space. It can be used for the community. If we have a problem in the town of Westborough, say a fire, and we need to have people put in shelter where there is the ability to have food, heat, and care, this building could be configured for that type of thing. The earlier answers from the board there about, will the space be dedicated? If you look at the senior centers around here, the ones that are successful, and if you've never been to a senior center, go to the Northborough Senior Center because it's a decent one. They are configurable. They are reconfigurable. They are welcoming, like your living room. They attract people. Okay? This is an opportunity to get a building to answer one of the issues that Kristi has on her list, because she's the town manager and she's looking at our what are the people that she works for asking for? Well, they're asking for a community center. Well, if you're over 55, you're probably also thinking that could be a senior center. Okay. So she can check off 2 things on her list. Okay? This can be an asset for Westborough. I said I was going to shut up. It's time to shut up.
Hello, John Caprioli, Groundridge Road. I'm the individual that figured out that $4 million was the appropriate price for this building. I did so after doing some research with the assessment records that are available at the town hall. Now, I don't take Mr. Johnson's position that making an offer is tantamount to rejecting the desire to make this purchase. This is a real estate transaction. In a real estate transaction, a viable component, and the most viable component, is called a counter offer. I am suggesting a counter offer. If the seller has a better offer on the table, then they can make another counter offer. That's the negotiation process for the purchase of real estate. We're not buying something that is unique. Excuse me. Now, Shelby has said...
Mr. Gabriel, was that your response to that first part, or would you like to continue?
Well, I was just about to bring up something that you did so you can combine the
Okay,
response. Okay. Shelby has alluded to the possibility that there is some imperative for acting in the moment, acting quickly. Well, what is that imperative? I realize you may have had executive sessions for negotiation, but you really have to give the public some information as to what pressure they're under. Because you're not buying the building, we are. So we have to know what pressure we're under, not what pressure you were subjected to. Now, one thing that has not been mentioned here is that this building was supposed to be the anchor building for the shopping center. And yet they clearly don't have an anchor client. They can't put it in there. It doesn't exist. The location isn't that very good for any place else but people that live in Westborough. I'm going to say that because it's a fact. We would be the most desirable. We would be like a gift from God to these people as an anchor tenant. Because not only are we going to be a tenant, we're going to be a tenant in perpetuity, forever and ever. They never have to worry about us breaking a lease because we own the building. And we're going to have traffic in there that they couldn't even dream of. We're going to give them more money through our, whatever. We're going to give them more money through our presence to appreciate, by appreciate I mean raise the value of their other holdings. Secondly, why don't you answer that part, Shelby? Shelby, that's good enough for seconds.
All right, I'll try. So the first part on the offering a counter offer. So,
My pardon.
well, I want to be clear. So as Ian Johnson explained before, so there was a back and forth negotiation between the board and the sellers. So that took place, that has already taken place. You entrust this board of 5 through your votes to do that negotiation. That is one of our roles. All I can tell you is there's a negotiation that took place. We didn't say, oh, we'd love it for $8.8 million. Of course, where do we sign? That was not what happened. You have to trust that took place. If you don't trust that, I'm sorry, and obviously we're not doing our job to ensure your trust. The second thing is the pressure that we're under is that they want to move forward with their plans for the building. As I already mentioned previously, they're doing improvements there. They're bringing in some new businesses. So they will not wait for the town. I think they, as Alan had mentioned before, they knew the town had expressed interest. They've seen the master plan. They've read that. They know that community center was an interest of the community as voiced through that plan, and then henceforth the senior needs assessment. And so the opportunity to come together and do this deal is where it is. To be candid, we wanted to hold a special town meeting before town meeting on October 16th for the special purpose of this deal. So they wanted to move faster. We sort of slowed it down, and the process, let it, because we felt like we already have a town meeting, why have another one, et cetera. So that's why we're having this meeting. If we don't act on this, is there the chance that they don't do anything and then they revisit us? Of course, there's always that chance, but I'm gonna say that I think it's highly, highly, highly unlikely. If you look at Grossman Development's assets across the country, and you can go to their website, they develop buildings, they enhance them, and they operate them successfully. They are not gonna sit.
That's it, they have 3.
No, that is not true, Mr. Gilbert, that's not true. So they're not gonna let this building sit and be fallow, okay? So I'm just saying, it's not gonna happen. If we don't want this opportunity, to Ian's point, we should vote it down. But we're not gonna be able to go back and offer $4 million or anything less than $8.8 million. I do not see that as being practical. In the world of miracles, I guess, it's always a possibility, but I don't see it as being that way.
Excuse me, I'm not through.
Yeah, no, and I think I answered. Oh, just on the traffic piece, yes, I do think that we're going to drive traffic into there, and I do think that that's good for Westborough and its economic vitality and the tax base. We're constantly struggling. I think we're at, our assessors here, but I think the number is we're at about 70% residential to commercial and industrial real estate. the stronger our economy is to our businesses, the more benefit the taxpayers get, not just tangential, but actual real tax benefit.
Did the developer tell you what your competition is, or who else is interested in the building?
So, no, and what I would tell you is that in any negotiation of real estate, you don't tell anyone what your competition is. I don't know who sold property before. I've done it on a personal matter. You don't say, well, I've got these other people waiting in the wings. You might say I've got other people, but you don't know if that's true or not. And the town would no more be privy to that information than you would be in a private transaction.
And you want us to proceed on what you don't know. That's what you're telling me.
No.
You don't know if they actually have any other alternative that's as viable as a sale to us, but you want us to proceed as if you believe it and we should believe it.
So I'm encouraging a yes vote. I'm fully supportive of a yes vote based on the opportunity that this building and property represents to the town, based on the multitude of studies that we, and I want to say we, because you're not just a taxpayer, he's a taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer, we're all taxpayers, I know you know that.
Yeah.
That we as a community have provided input to say this, we want to make improvements, we want to provide more programming to our seniors, etc. So I am saying that is the yes vote that I am supporting, that I'm suggesting that you support. It's not about whether or not they have other people waiting in the wings. I feel, as part of the negotiation team, we did the best job we could to negotiate not only the price, but as Alan mentioned, the terms within the purchase and sale.
You are not in possession of knowledge that substantiates your position. Someone is going to advance their alternatives to your purchase in order to get you to do what you're doing. Act quickly and pay a premium price. Don't fall for that. It's not about selling a building, it's about buying one. As a buyer, you have a due diligence to yourself, or if you represent the community, to the community, to get it at the best possible price. I'm not telling you not to buy it. I'm telling you to get the best possible price. Don't fall for anything that hasn't happened. They've had plenty of time to renovate this building or to get tenants. And how do you know that they have anything going for them? You don't know it, I don't know it, and I'm not going to ask people to pay $4,400,000 for something you don't know and I don't know. I think we should make a counteroffer. Let me stress the value of that counteroffer.
Mr. Campanelli, I would suggest that you bring up these points at town meeting when this article is discussed in front of the whole town.
Mr. Edinberg, I asked you at the previous meeting to get in touch with me and we could discuss this personally. My phone didn't ring. I'd like to proceed just a little longer. I have a point to make here.
No, and I want you to make your point. I just want to say to you that I want to be crystal clear, we did negotiate. They started here, we started there. This is where we landed.
I know how negotiations work. You don't have to explain it to me.
I understand that. So if you disagree with the 8.8 as our final resting point of this negotiation, the one we're talking about,
yes, that is clear.
Then I would encourage you to vote no.
No, I would encourage myself to vote yes, and we'll make a counteroffer, and that counteroffer sits on the table long enough for the seller to realize it's the best deal he's going to get, number one, and number two, so that we can do the due diligence, so we have some idea what it's going to cost us to renovate that building. I want to bring up a quick point here. There's a restaurant that was just across the street from CBS on East Main Street. It was called the Bistro. I was in there just the other day. It was an open space. It was a restaurant, it was an open space. And I don't want to turn it into a dentist's office or something like that. There's a company called Anytime Plumbing. I was talking to the people there. That building, the floor has been totally there's all kinds of grooves on the floor for piping and for electrical work. We're trying to turn a warehouse into an office building. That's extremely expensive and extremely time consuming. You should find out what that's going to cost before you buy the building. Nobody buys a building and then decides, and then tries to find out what it's gonna cost them to live there. They make those determinations simultaneously, and that's what I'm asking you to do. Make a determination of the price and the cost of the occupancy simultaneously. That is the smartest process for acquiring real estate that you find, that you generate a use for and a benefit of. You want to talk to me?
I think I've made my point, and I think we're just kind of chasing each other in circles here.
Anybody else hasn't spoken?
I would just like to thank, and
Name and address.
I'm Linda Birch. I live at 1 Essex Way here in Westborough. I have served on the Council on Aging for quite a while now, and for years we have been trying, with the grace and the help of our selectmen, our police department, youth and recreation, trying to figure out how we can put one more program, one more activity into this small building. We accommodate people in wheelchairs. We accommodate, our buses have the lift to get chairs, wheelchairs in and out of the vans. Not only do we bring people here, we take people to doctor's appointments. Right now, they are in that kitchen cooking dinners. And I assure you, the plates, the containers, etc., are all stored along here. And yet nobody has come out at this point to get into those closets to get the equipment they need, because we did that before. Yeah, we do that before. And all we are trying to do is make a place for our senior citizens. Not everybody gets the luxury of becoming a senior citizen. And for crying out loud, we paid our taxes, we paid our dues. All we want is a place for people to gather, to have a cup of coffee, to have a meal, to have time spent with other people. Being alone is not fun. And I just, with all my heart and soul, support this. I've been privy to other conversations. Shelby and Kristi and Kim have attended Council on Aging meetings. There's been a lot of thought put into this proposal. And that's all I want to say. I will be voting in favor of it.
Jack Morrison, 39 Ward Street. I've lived in Westborough since 1977. And, you know, I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of things change, some good, some not so good. But one of the things I always thought was missing in Westborough was a community center. I look at other towns around here that are like ours, and they almost all have one. And it's very active. I mean, the senior center in Northborough is outstanding. I believe that we need a community center. Is this the best option in this location? Maybe, maybe not. But I look at what the cost would be if we tried to expand this building or build another one. And at that point, even if it's $8 million, to me, it's a worthwhile investment. The other thing I found very interesting listening to all of this, okay, yeah, we're in the senior center, is the thing that did not get talked about is half of this space is supposed to be a recreation department. Now, things in this town that have to do with kids are generally very well accepted. So I want you to make sure, the proponents of this bill, that when we get to town meeting, that the fact that half this building is going to be recreation for their children is mentioned. because to me, that is as important, okay, as the senior center part. Because I agree, the seniors don't get represented. But then again, if you look at how much money we spend towards the kids, not counting schools, it's very little. And this is an opportunity to help both the youth and the seniors at the same time. Thank you.
Rito?
I'd like to actually speak myself before I go on. One thing that Linda forgot to mention is at the last meeting of the Council on Aging, we did vote 9-0 to support this article.
Just real quick.
I want to get people who haven't spoken.
Oh, okay, yeah, no problem.
Just 1 minute. Very simple thing. Thank you very much for the presentation. Great job. My job is Anand Levy. Me and my wife, we live in 7 Lennox Way in Watermeadow. We have lived here for 8 years and we came from Maine. My profession has been engineering. I've dealt with I've dealt with building all my life. New buildings, old buildings, renovation. I just will put some numbers together without saying anything about who does what, who does negotiation. It is irrelevant. We are looking at some numbers that I'll share with you. At $8.8 million and roughly 60,000 square feet, it is $147,000 per square foot. Now, we heard that Upton Senior Center costs $800 a square foot. You're not going to get anything in 60,000 square foot space for any less than, say, 500. I think we need to do the due diligence report and an estimate of the retrofit will come later. It is like putting chicken and egg at the same time. You can't do it. There is a process we are doing, and I think we appreciate what you're doing. I think it's an excellent opportunity. We should grab it. Traffic and all can be dealt with later. Thank you.
I'm Angelo Cavalieri, 16 Samuel Harrington. I'm a refugee from the corporate world, and I've suffered through many a PowerPoint presentation. I wanted to just let you all know that I thought what you did here in terms of how you organized it, how you presented all of the details, I think it was laid out well. It was quite thorough, and so and I can compare that to a lot of these bad presentations I've seen over my career. So it's nice to sit through a PowerPoint presentation that wasn't painful or ridiculously organized or blatantly omitting important things. You did all the good stuff here. In my mind, it's like, okay, I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to be getting here. I think I have a pretty good idea of what's going to cost. So I'm just going to look at those two things. I'm going to think about it. And when the time comes, when I come to town meeting, I will cast my vote. I'll just thank you for the effort you made in terms of presenting this as clearly and explicitly as you possibly could. Thank you.
Anyone who hasn't spoken?
Hi, my name is Beth Kinski. I live at 269 West Main Street. Just wanted to point out one kind of intangible thing about this that I love is that I've done a lot of work at the high school and here, and you know, it goes without saying that the new space is needed, and there's so many new things we could do and make it a wonderful place and a welcoming place for our seniors. It's just a growing population, and we really need it. But one of the wonderful things I see about this particular idea is that I feel like our town is missing connections with the older community and the younger community. And we've brought, NHS students to the fair, and we've done things like that, but it's not organic, it's not easy. I feel like our seniors are kept up here, and the school is separate, the rest of the town is separate. And I think that this is a wonderful chance for us to have each other see each other and have community service be available for the students to do, and for the elderly people in our community to enjoy seeing those kids too. So I know that everybody wants their own space, but I think there's something wonderful about them sharing the space also.
I just have one
all, if that's okay. Yeah, I understand the need for the senior center. I actually like Ted Gilbert, 26 Charles Street. I actually like the feel of the senior center. I know it has its drawbacks. These are $200 folding chairs, by the way, which are pretty nice. I just think it's a bad deal. I really think it was poorly negotiated. I think in this market, it's the sucker deal, really. And I think maybe you guys hire consultants for everything else. Maybe you hire a professional negotiator for real estate deals and commercial real estate. I don't think, Shelby, you actually have a lot of expertise in that area. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I've been on other negotiations with the board, and as have other members. I'm not a professional real estate negotiator. I'm not sure if that's like an actual title.
Well, there's just about everything else.
There is,
right? Yeah.
there is. But I will
DEI
say,
consultant, SEL consultant.
yeah. So I will say
all
that,
kinds of vendors, LPA.
So I will say that Ian and I worked with Kristi, our town manager, who has been part of other negotiations, and we relied on other town resources, or like our legal counsel as an example, as well as our town assessor provided his expertise, and we also did an appraisal. So it wasn't just the three of us sort of, doing back of the number navigation on this negotiation. So you're entitled to your opinion about my ability to negotiate, and I respect that. The deal is what it is.
It's going to be very easy. They've never heard this before, the one word. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone wanted to speak?
Before we go, I want to thank everyone for taking your time today. I don't even know what time it is. Really appreciate the feedback. I think no matter whether it's yay and thank you, which is always appreciated, the feedback on that is more critical or more pointed or I don't understand is equally appreciated. I think it was Mr. I apologize, blanking your last name in the green shirt. Thank you. 9-page FAQ on the town's website, lots of presentations. Encourage you to watch others other than the one you just sat through to learn more, because other questions were asked. Those will continue to be updated by our town manager and her staff. So thank you very much. Encourage your friends and neighbors to come out and vote. They always should at town meeting. It's kind of like the Super Bowl for Westborough, right? And it's 7 o'clock on October 16th. Please be there.
And if you need a ride, the senior center buses will be on the road. You have to reserve the spot by Wednesday.
Thank you.